Hey folks, this is Chris Crazy House. I recently got into it with a popular black comic book artist over something very silly in my opinion. It's a very silly topic and silly discussion as far as like what's really important as far as what's going on in the world and what we could be protesting or fighting against. But what we got into it about was, and I'm not going to give the person's name because I'm not trying to hurt them or their career or whatever. But what we got into about was very recently a very popular comic book artist out there named Frank Cho. He's been under a lot of fire for over a year, actually, where people have been attacking him because of his artwork, and not just he likes drawing sexy women, pretty much, or I wouldn't even call his mainstream work the girls sexy. I mean, he just draws them in a good way. He has a classical pop style. Like if you remember, if you're into classic comic books like The Rocketeer or Tarzan or stuff like Frank Frazetta, if you're into stuff like that, then Frank Cho was kind of like the modern version of that. And of course, sometimes the girls will be scantily clad, but for the most part, it's tasteful. I'll say that. And Frank Cho is talented enough that he's gotten to work on a lot of mainstream books like Wonder Woman. I remember him from when he worked on the X-Men stuff, and some of the artwork he's done with like Jungle Girl and what was the other one? His other book, Liberty Meadows, which is the one that I remember the most. But he's been attacked over at least the last year and a half or so because I guess people think that he's objectifying women. And normally when artists get called out for that, they kind of just give in and just change their whole style and what they do. But Frank Cho has gone in the opposite direction where he's become very defiant about what he draws, and sometimes he's even gone over the top even more with his stuff. And he's done like very funny book covers where he's making fun of people being social justice warriors and complaining about objectification of women, and making fun of the people that have all this outrage. He's called out other artists that have tried to get on him, and even I think one artist got into a war of words with him about how he draws women, and Frank Cho literally sent the guy a photo book of nude model nude modeling women for that are used for like references and stuff like that. So he trolls people online that get on him about the way he draws women, and he kind of goes overboard with it sometimes. But for the most part, he has that right. But what I saw was there's a recent article that this popular black artist posted on his Facebook page, and he showed, and the title of the article was Frank Cho has not learned his lesson yet. And it just showed that he was at a convention where he met another popular artist, an artist named Milo Manara, who has worked on very erotic work before, and he's the one that got in trouble a couple of months ago about the whole Spider Girl picture. But Milo Manara just came to the convention and showed and gave an art piece to Frank Cho, saying thank you for standing up for me, and not just for me, but for freedom of speech of artists and for artist rights and artists to be able to draw whatever they want without being criticized. And people wrote this big article and this big how to do and making it seem like these guys were the two worst people on earth. And all through the comments section of this black artist page, all I saw was Frank Cho should not get any work anymore. I wouldn't hire him. He should not be able to have a job. He's exploiting women. He's objectifying women, all this other stuff. And I saw some black people, and this black artist in particular, co-signing that line of thought, where he's making it seem like it's okay for someone to lose their job based on what they draw or just not be able to get any work anymore. And I just thought that was ridiculous. Now, I can understand if you don't if you don't like a certain type of art or don't like a certain artist, just don't purchase their work. And that's how I make my protest. If I don't like something, I'm just not going to support it or buy it. That's it's as simple as that. But I'm not going to try to get someone fired or try to get them not to get any work anymore based on how their work makes me feel or how I give my opinion on their work. Because I got into a discussion with this artist and a lot of other people in there where I said, where they admitted, they said, yeah, I don't think, or it makes me feel. I was like, okay, how something makes you think or how something makes you feel is not grounds for a person not being able to get work anymore. Because artists are allowed to draw what they want, and if they have a fan base, then that's just what it is. You just don't, if you don't like it, don't support them. But I'm not going to go out there go above and beyond and write articles or repost articles where I'm trying to tear another artist down. I mean, it's tough enough being an artist and also being an artist that's a minority, because Frank Cho is Asian. And I was just trying to get on this other black artist by saying, as another minority, why would you try to do something that would get someone else to lose their livelihood? Especially, it's hard enough to get to a certain position as an artist or being mainstream or whatever, where you're able to get, excuse me, where you're able to get constant work and make a living just drawing what you like. Why would you want to take that away from somebody? Why would you want to take their dreams away from them? You know what I mean? Like, even if someone was out there drawing Nazi women or whatever, or pictures of black people getting lynched or whatever, I'm just not going to buy that. I'm not going to support it. I might have a criticism about it, but I'm not going to try to be like, oh, this person shouldn't work anymore, because obviously if they have a fan base, I'm more worried about the fan base, I would say, I guess. But, it's just weird to me when I see other artists come out to attack another artist and try to get it so that this artist can't get work anymore. And it's even more crazy when I see it come from black people who we should know better. And I tried to bring this up, just about, people trying to say what's objectification of women and what's not. I put up some pictures of romance novels where it has men with their shirts open and big bulging muscles, or they're half clothed or whatever. And I was like, is this objectification of men? But then people came with their nonsense saying it's not the same thing, or it's not real, or I'm just imagining things, I'm making false equivalents. So, like I said, it's basically based on how people feel at the time. And I just don't agree with trying to get someone to lose their job based on doing something that they like to do. It's like they're not hurting anybody. Like, the only way I can see that is if Frank Cho was drawing small children in provocative clothing or something like that. Then I can see that's a problem. But I do think people have selective outrage about who they get on, because the black artist that was criticizing Frank Cho, he's drawn nude women before. And I've never seen him, he's a lover of anime. I've never seen him say anything about Japanese animation which has nothing but a lot of fan service and cheesecake in their work. Or I've never seen him castigate any of these classical artists like Frank Frazetta, who draws nude women or scantily clad women with very voluptuous bodies. Like I said, I think a lot of the criticism of Frank Cho comes from the simple fact that he's been defiant about it. He has not kowtowed. And I think a lot of these mainstream artists, they feel that they have to criticize him or else they'll lose their work or their fan base or their support. So they feel like they have to attack him. And some of these guys, some of these males that I see writing these blogs or making these videos where they're talking bad about Frank Cho and how he draws women. Any man who says that they see a sexy woman and they're mad at that and they don't like that, I'm looking at you sideways. That's just me. I'm kind of giving guys the side eye when I say that when they come out and all this nonsense about how they don't want to see a woman scantily clad. No, just saying. I'm not saying that sort of thing needs to be gratuitous or we need to see that stuff all the time. And there is a time and place for it. And if you go too extreme with it, it can be a problem. But when you just see it and you're automatically having this meltdown about it, to me that I give them the side eye. That's almost like a sign of something else going on in that person's head when they hate it too much. It almost makes me think that they're a closet pervert, because when you try to repress yourself to that point, it gets to a point where when you are in private, you become sexually or socially deviant when you're trying so hard to be this Puritan. That's why you see so many of these upstanding politicians and preachers getting caught in some of the worst sex scandals ever, because when they're the ones that are talking the most about how someone needs to cover up and do this and do that. And then you look in their private life and they're doing something completely disgusting and scandalous. So that's all I have to say. Some of these social justice warriors going out there against, Frank Cho and those like him. Like I said, if you don't like the artist's work, then just don't buy his work. But, let that man live, let that man eat. As long as he's not doing something that's illegal or that's really hurting somebody, just give him a break. And, like I said, black artists, we should know better, because it's hard enough for us to get into any industry. But when we get there, we don't need to kowtow, because this black artist that got on Frank Cho, he is a bit of a social justice warrior. I've seen him come out for anything that's popular now that you're supposed to be standing up for. I've seen him make a post about it. And to me, that's unnecessary. You should have a little bit more conviction and a little bit more integrity in that way. You don't have to go along with the crowd. Go for what you want and what you think, Because I never see him co-sign any black artists like me or Wayne Riley when we talk about certain social justice things when it concerns black people. But if it comes to LGBT, or if it comes to women's rights, or whatever is socially acceptable for you to be protesting against, that's when he comes out. So that needs to stop as well. I'd rather people just come out and be more honest about their feelings rather than just jumping on the bandwagon of these social justice forums. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. And Chris Crazy House signing out. Peace.